Hey, Grok, I have a question for you.
Fire away, Bob.
If Jesus was born Jewish and was said to be king of the Jews, how did we end up with Christianity?
Great question. Let's unpack this step by step. No preaching, just connecting the dots like we love to do. Jesus of Nazareth was born, lived, and died as a Jew in Roman-occupied Judea. He taught in synagogues, celebrated Passover, quoted the Torah, and his earliest followers were all Jewish. The title King of the Jews was both a messianic claim by his supporters and the charge written on the cross by the Romans. For the first few years after the crucifixion and the resurrection experiences reported by his disciples, the movement stayed inside Judaism. They were known as the Way, a Jewish sect expecting Jesus to return soon and fulfill the prophecies. They still went to temple, kept kosher, and circumcised their sons. So what changed? Two massive forces collided, one person and one catastrophe. First, the person. Saul of Tarsus, later known as the Apostle Paul. Originally a zealous Pharisee who persecuted the early Jesus followers, Paul had a dramatic conversion on the road to Damascus. He became convinced Jesus was the risen Messiah. Paul's genius, or disruption depending on your view, was taking the message outside the Jewish community to the Gentiles, non-Jews. He argued that you didn't need to fully convert to Judaism, no circumcision required, no full kosher laws to follow Jesus. Faith in Christ, grace, and a transformed life were enough. This opened the floodgates. Paul traveled the Roman Empire, planted churches in Greek and Roman cities, and wrote letters that became half the New Testament. He turned a Jewish reform movement into something portable for the wider Mediterranean world. Then came the catastrophe. In 70 AD, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in Jerusalem after a Jewish revolt. That was the center of Jewish religious life. Without the temple, Judaism had to reinvent itself around synagogues, rabbis, and the Torah. The Jesus movement, now increasingly Gentile, continued to drift further away. By the late 1st and early 2nd centuries, we start seeing clear separation. Christians stopped requiring Jewish ritual law. They developed their own practices, Sunday worship instead of Saturday Sabbath, new rituals like baptism and communion. Jewish Christians, sometimes called Ebionites, who kept the old ways, became a minority and eventually faded. Fast forward to the 4th century. The Roman Emperor Constantine converts, and Christianity goes from persecuted sect to favored religion of the empire. By 380 AD, it's the official state religion. What started as a small Jewish apocalyptic movement had become the spiritual framework for much of the Western world. Theology evolved too. Early Christians wrestled with big questions. Was Jesus just a great teacher? A prophet? God in the flesh? The doctrine of the Trinity and the idea of a new covenant helped distinguish Christianity as its own faith while still honoring the Jewish scriptures as the Old Testament. So, in systems thinking terms, Jesus planted the seed inside Judaism. Paul engineered the off-ramp for Gentiles. History, especially the destruction of the temple and the Roman embrace, turned that off-ramp into a whole new highway. Christianity didn't replace Judaism, it branched from it, the way a new denomination or reform movement sometimes becomes its own tradition. Both faiths still share roots in the God of Abraham, the ethical teachings, and the Hebrew Scriptures. Bob, that's the short version of a very long, very human story, full of zeal, debate, politics, and genuine spiritual conviction. What do you think? Does this help connect the dots? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next couch session.
This book, The Evolution of Faith, From Ancient Beliefs to Modern Christianity, explains how Christianity was born out of Judaism. It's available on Amazon.
Thank you for watching. See you soon.